Hi, welcome back to Mr. Slover's Math. Today we're going to talk about the distance formula. So you're going to be able to find the distance between 2 points. So the warm-up is actually asking us to calculate the slope. So your slope, remember, is rise over run. Here's our equation. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, change in y over change in x. So we started by identifying and labeling my ordered pairs, x1, y1, x2, y2, and then we just did some substitution into our equation right here. And we got -6. Same concept over here. We identified the x1, the y1, the x2, the y2, plugged it in to that formula, and we got 9/8. Now, the reason we had this as our warm-up is because this is the first time this unit that we saw the x1, y1, x2, y2. And you saw that you labeled them because you had one ordered pair and then two ordered pairs, and you plugged it into this formula. That's what we're going to do today. The only difference is instead of finding the slope or the rate of change, we're going to find the distance between 2 points. So in order to find the distance between the 2 points, we are going to use the distance formula, which is what this is. The good news is you don't have to memorize this. This will be written on your test. But the D stands for distance. The x sub 1, y sub 1, and x sub 2, y sub 2 come from the ordered pairs, just like we saw in the warm-up. And for purposes of this class, we're just going to leave answers in radical form, aka with the square root, and here's what our symbol looks like. So we don't have many examples. We only have 4 examples, but they do take a little bit of time, and if you rush through them, there is a good chance you're going to make a mistake. So I always caution students to take your time. It may appear easy that you're just doing some substitution, but a lot of times students mess up on a sign mistake. So just make sure that you take your time. So we're starting the same way that we did with the slope and calculating it. We label x1, y1, x2, y2, and then we plug it into that formula. So the square root of parentheses x2 minus x1. So my formula says minus, so 4, and then I put the minus sign, and then my x1 value happens to be -5. So that's why there's 2 negatives there. The first one comes from my formula. The second one comes from the value of x sub 1. Close the parentheses, squared plus parentheses, and then same thing with the y's. 6 minus, so y2 minus y1. So once again, the first minus comes from the formula. The second one comes from the ordered pair. So when I simplify that, 4 minus -5, I get 9. 6 minus -7, I get 13. And we got to make sure that we simplify this correctly. We got to follow the order of operations. So we got to do what's inside the parentheses first. Then we do the squaring. Don't do 9 plus 13 and then square it. That's not right. Got to do 9 squared first, then 13 squared. So you'll get 81 plus 169. Add them together to get the square root of 250. Now, we haven't really talked about rationalizing root 250. So if you leave it as root 250, that's fine. Or if you change it to 5 root 10, also fine. Okay, other classes may have you do something else. For purposes of my class, that's all I'm asking for is the square root of 250. So let's look at letter B. So same thing, I started off by identifying x1, y1, x2, y2. I plugged it into my formula that you don't even have to memorize. -4 minus -3, all of that squared. And then 7 minus 2 squared. So -4 minus negative. So minus negative becomes positive. So it's say -4 plus 3. That gives me a -1. Over here, 7 minus 2 gives me a 5. When you are using your calculator, make sure you are using parentheses around that. So -1 squared is really saying -1 times -1. Well, we learned a long time ago that two negatives multiplied together give you a positive. So we should be getting a positive 1 when I square negative 1 squared. However, some of your calculators may say negative 1 squared is negative 1. That's why you need to put it in parentheses. I want negative 1 times negative 1. We know that's a positive number. Please make a note of that. After you square these, no matter what it is, you will get a positive value. Even if your calculator says it's negative, it should be positive. Go back, put it in parentheses, just like I have written here, or like I have written here, and it'll spit out a positive value. That's what we're looking for. Negative 1 squared is negative 1 times negative 1. Gives you a positive 1. And then 5 squared is 25. Add them together. 1 plus 25 gives you the square root of 26. Make sure that you put the square root of 26. Don't put 26. That is way different than the square root of 26. So take your time as you go through these. It's very easy to make mistakes, like a minus negative, or taking the negative and squaring it and still writing a negative. After you square it, it will always be a positive. Please, please, please make a note of that. And then you can try letter C and D on your own. So today we just focused on the distance formula. You're identifying x1, y1, x2, y2, plugging it into the formula, and calculating the distance between two pairs of points on a coordinate plane. If you got any questions, make sure you reach out and let me know. Otherwise, thanks for stopping in. Till next time.